Hello, everyone. I'm Joed, and welcome to the third and final part of this three-part retreat workshop, Relationship Detox, Practicing Curiosity, Courage, and Compassion to Nurture Life-Giving Relationships. This is brought to you by Millennial Tito Monk and YGoal Inc. This third and final part is a wrap-up of the first two parts and an introduction to integrative practices, like I mentioned in the first part. Part three also starts with a brief presence practice. Like in part two, let us know if you want to be connected to a small group. Otherwise, you can organize your own small group and follow the soulful conversation format if you like. This three-part retreat closes with an introduction to integrative practices as an invitation to contemplative living. And then a link will be available for a short evaluation. Now let us do a brief presence practice. The presence practices we did for parts 1 and 2 involved words from John O'Donohue and Khalil Gibran, respectively. This time, I thought of keeping it open until you find the word or phrase that wants to come out. On your screen now reads, ask for a word. In the next few seconds and in the silence of our hearts, ask for a word from your inner self, or from the sacred, or from God or Spirit. Imagine yourself opening up to this word. Resist the temptation to produce a word or run after it. Let the word come to you like a profound and delicate thing that requires your patience and acceptance. When the word comes knocking on the door of your consciousness, let it in. Offer a space for it. Look at that word as if it has a face and wait for what it wants to tell you. Sit with this word for as long as you are led to. You may pause this video if you need more time. Asking for a word is an ancient practice. In the olden times, seekers or novices would visit the monks in the desert or in the caves or in monasteries, and they would ask for a word or a phrase they can reflect on for days or even many weeks. The wise desert fathers and mothers taught their followers that wisdom and inspiration may not always come through a lengthy conversation with another person. Sometimes it's through silence and solitude. Instead of searching long and hard for meaning and answers, they are invited to be still and let what they desire to find them instead. For the brief walkthrough on how soulful conversations can be done, please refer to the part 2 video. We are open to anyone who wishes to meet with a small group for a soulful conversation. Please just send a message and we will take it from there. This retreat workshop has been all about relationships. We talked about the important role our relationships play in our lives. The relationships we had when we were younger, especially in our early childhood days, shaped how we looked at the world, how we dreamed, how we carried ourselves. We still remember many fond memories of those relationships that made us laugh and jump for joy. We also see the scars left by some relationships that instilled shame and left us in pain. Our relationships also handed down to us our beliefs in a higher power. If we examine how we view the sacred or God or spirit, we can see the traces of our past and even present relationships in it. How we relate to the higher power can mirror how we treat others and ourselves. Relationships are indeed complex. We saw that in the worksheets. A relationship may not purely be life giving or purely life depleting. I hope that when you revisit your relationship map or quadrant, you will be able to visualize the quality of the relationships surrounding you. Do you have more life giving relationships nearby? Or are you surrounded by more life depleting relationships? Are your life giving relationships miles away from you? What invitations are you sensing at this point? Perhaps there are opportunities to build new life giving relationships or transform life depleting relationships into life giving ones. What does your inner wisdom tell you about the relationships that keep you on your toes for not so good reasons? How do we celebrate the life giving relationships we already have? Where are we being invited as we look at the life depleting relationships? Practicing curiosity, courage, and compassion can be helpful for us as we navigate these beautiful and complex relationships. When we practice curiosity, we open up ourselves and even stretch our hearts to make room for stories that need to be told. We are able to hold our judgments and strong emotions lightly so we can make space for the other to unfold freely. Being genuinely curious puts you in a place of wonder and innocence and gives permission for the other to be honest rather than hide and be defensive. When we practice courage, we allow ourselves to come as we are. We can arrive without concealments, without pretensions, without accessories. Being courageous to show up as our essential self can be contagious. Not being armed up disarms the other as well. When we gather the courage to offer an open hand instead of a clenched fist, we make room for trust and communicate to the other that, hey, it's okay to be exactly who you are. This is a different kind of courage because in here, the display of strength relies on being able to show our weakness and vulnerability. There is no need to hurt and hurt back. There is no need to prove anything. When we practice compassion, we are tapping on the inextricable connection of everyone to life and to something or someone higher. Acknowledging this deep connection makes us realize we are not separate from one another. Practicing compassion is participating in the wonderful work of love in the world. Compassion has the power to create strong bonds among family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers. Thank you for joining me in this three-part retreat workshop on relationship detox, practicing curiosity, courage, and compassion to nurture life-giving relationships. As mentioned earlier, I will also take this opportunity to introduce this new program that Millennial Tito Monk is cooking up. Flow, contemplative living through integrative practices. As some of you might know, Millennial Tito Monk has been creating content exploring various spiritual practices such as contemplative climb, soulful reading, soulful conversations, meditation, mindfulness, and others. In the course of studying and engaging in those practices, I realized that there is this bigger and higher movement that has been carrying me all throughout if I only pay attention to it. And this movement is what I'd like to call flow. Flow is a new program that promotes contemplative living by exploring and committing to practices that promote integration of the different aspects of your life. This is my own definition of contemplative living. It is being deeply present in the world, inextricably connected to the sacred, and freely engaged in the flow of life. The flow program is carried by this desire to become fully present to what is happening in and around you. It does not take you away from reality, but encourages you to be right in it. It is the belief of this program that deep presence leads to stronger and more intimate connection to the sacred, God, spirit, energy, reality, life, love. Contemplative living entails willingness to take part in how life is moving. It allows one to be part of the flow of life, traveling lightly, holding things with palms wide open. Contemplative living does not mean closing our eyes from the chaos and injustices around us and retreating to a safe and comfortable cave. In fact, it is the opposite. When we live contemplatively, we become more sensitive to our own joys and woundedness, as well as the world's. We become more attuned to both the light and the darkness. And since life is always flowing toward what is ultimately good, we can respond to the invitation to lead a life that is more conscious, more loving, more just. Contemplative living does not make us blind. Instead, it opens up all our senses and allows us to be who we truly are, conscious and breathing embodiment of life and love. Integrative practices are the vehicles toward living a contemplative life. Integrative practices are a set of safe, simple, and suitable actions, respectful of one's unique context and natural rhythm that allows one to live deeply, freely, and wholly. This program will help you explore and commit to a set of practices that can allow you to flow. These practices will be designed by you according to your unique context. You will not be asked to do anything that does not align with your nature, or in other words, anything that goes against the flow of life for you and in you. The most important element of integrative practices is showing up to yourself. The integrative practices flow through these 6 streams: physical, emotional, intellectual, interpersonal, societal, and spiritual. Participants in this program will discern and commit to into one practice for each stream. Again, the practices are safe, simple, and suitable for the practitioner. Flowing with these practices will entail regular contemplation, reflecting on the process, and noticing any movements arising from each of the practices. By trusting the process, being clear about one's intention, and committing to those practices, the participants hopefully will be able to see how all these things come together or integrate, hence the term integrative practices. The six streams soon merge into one big and unending flow. Are you interested in this program? If you are, please scan this QR code to sign up. Don't worry, it's completely free. You might also want to join our future contemplative clients and soulful reading groups. Please check out the Facebook page of Millennial Tito Monk for more information. Subscribe to Millennial Tito Monk's YouTube channel and follow on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by using the handle at Millennial Tito Monk. Millennial Tito Monk creates free programs and retreats like Relationship Detox. Viewing, sharing, liking, commenting on the content can help us reach more people. These are the books and journals I consulted for this retreat workshop. Feel free to read them too and learn more about relationships, spirituality, consciousness, and other topics that might be interesting for you. Thank you for joining me in this 3-part retreat workshop. See you around.